Appamādamanuyuñjanti, bālā dummedhino janā, Appamādañca medhāvī, dhanaṃ seṭṭhaṃva rakkhati. So if we go here to our first gata, the first clause, this could look like kind of an intimidating, really long word, but it actually isn't. It's just the way these two words actually have been run together. If you saw it in more of a prose situation, it would probably be printed more like this, at least in Pali that uses Roman script. Devanagari, Thai, Khmer, Sinhalese script would run it all together, but that holds true of everything. That's something we don't have to concern ourselves with here. One thing we can think about is that pamādaṃ, really, if it were just said by itself, it's really pamādaṃ, being followed by a word starting with a vowel causes the to change to Keeping that all in mind, let's look here at our verb. Now this does appear to be a third person plural present active verb. I'm going to put these back here. And so that means the dictionary form we would be looking for is anuyuñjati. Now this is ultimately from the root yuj, which gives us yoga, and I think maybe even in Spanish, juntar, like joining things together, comes through Latin. So this verb means to give oneself up to, and I don't know about more modern dictionaries, but in the Pali English dictionary, they kind of assume some Latin understanding. So when you see this C here, it just means cum, with the accusative is all this means. So it means it would take the accusative. And then it can also have, according to the Pali English dictionary, these other meanings here. So, of course, this is plural, and it would just mean in that case, they give themselves up to, or they pursue, they attend to, and we have an accusative case here. What are they giving themselves over to? Pamādaṃ. Now this goes back to, we've talked about this, but just to point this out, the root of that, mud, actually can mean intoxicated. Really gives us our root mad. So someone just, again, doing his or her own thing, doing one's own thing. So kind of negligent or negligence, carelessness. They give themselves over to negligence, is this what this means here. And I might even try to do something like that. Now, in the second gata, the second clause, we actually get the subject. So we'll go over and we'll modify this they here. Balā is masculine nominative plural for ignorant. Morally ignorant people are foolish. So really the root idea is young and unable to speak. So just like someone who would be young, like a baby would be ignorant of morality. So that's kind of the idea here. I did want to put down here, don't confuse that with balā. Balā is different from balā, and this means force or strength. So we'll say something like ignorant, dummedhino, This you would have to look up under medhin, the actual ending here. Dummedhino is really dummedhin. That's, I won't say much about this. I think this is kind of the only way you find this word here is with the du prefix. And it's sort of a synonym here, so foolish or ignorant. And then we have janā. In the singular, this would be a person, and in the plural, people. Cognate with a word like generation, generate. And this here is just like this long a is the masculine nominative plural. This is also masculine nominative plural, just from a different family of nouns ending like this. So if we put that all together, we could say foolish, maybe foolish, ignorant, like I am ignorant of spelling. Ignorant people, foolish, ignorant people give themselves over to negligence. Now, I will tell you first, let's go through what I think is the accepted understanding of the second line here, the third and fourth gata. Then I will tell you what I thought it meant at first, which is not a great reading, I will admit, but I'll throw it out there just for your for you to comment upon, dear listener. So here we have Appamādañca medhāvī. It isn't too hard to recognize that before we had pamādaṃ, now we have appamādaṃ. It's undergoing a sound change because of the cha. I think I wrote it down here. If the cha weren't there, or maybe if you took a long breath or something, it would be appamādaṃ. So this is the opposite of this here, which is causing the this p to be doubled. But this is the opposite of carelessness, the opposite of negligence. So we could say, we can come up with words for that. We could say vigilant and being careful, etc. And this cha, of course, can mean and, but in this case, the adversative cha, if you want like a fun little way to describe that, but. So we know what the foolish do, but, and we talked about this. This is probably going to be an object because it's ending in the even though it's a little disguised here. Then we have medhāvī. And medhāvī is really masculine nominative singular, the way it's normally taken. And it means intelligent or wise. I put a little note here. Why switch to the singular? We might say, well, first of all, we will discuss, I'm not saying it's a viable alternative reading, but this word actually could be plural. I mean, this in form. Keep that in mind. But in this case, and it's going to come up in a minute, we're treating it as singular because of this verb back here. So why would the Buddha change from this plural, a plurality, a discussion of many ignorant, or more than one, the foolish, and now talk about a singular wise person? And of course, it could always just be because of the meter. That's something that's not as, of course, maybe satisfying or interesting. It could be just the truth. But also, maybe it has something to do with the fact that there are less wise people. So we'll always find more foolish, and we may find ourselves in that group more often than we want to admit. So perhaps because there are simply less wise people than non-wise. We have this, but the wise, or in this case, but a wise person, and we know that this is going to be an object, but we don't have a verb yet. So we're going to go way to the end here. Rakkhati. Now, rakkhati is third person singular present active indicative, and it means to protect or guard. But a wise person protects, or let's just say guards. We have to commit to one if we're writing it out like this. But a wise person guards appamādaṃ, guards vigilance. Vigilance. But a wise person guards vigilance. And then this is something else to be on the lookout for, and it's come up in the first chapter of the Dhammapada a few times. I don't know how many times. This va here. Now, this va, short could mean or. You would normally expect long, but in poetry it could be, it can be found like this to be an or, but that doesn't seem to, you would expect two of them. So that isn't really what's going on. And really what this is the short form of eva, and I think that ended up disappearing onto the, let's see if we can get it back up here. Eva, well, I put it here. Short form of eva, just as. So this is a simile. But a wise person guards vigilance just as, and we would have to understand rakkhati again, but we might leave it out here and we'll put it in a minute. Just as a best, I'm going to jump ahead here, a best treasure, and then we'll talk about that. Just as dhanaṃ, now that could be wealth or treasure, and this is accusative case, just like appamādaṃ, so it's our object, and seṭṭhaṃva is an adjective describing that, best or excellent. Now, I will now explain, could I say now a couple more times? I'll explain the way I first understood this, and I kind of wanted it to be this way, but I don't really think it works as well. But when we get here to this third gata, we have this cha, and we have appamādaṃ, and we have medhāvī. So I just thought that it was really paralleling this first line, that here, this was the opposite of pamādaṃ, and that medhāvī is the opposite of this. So I was thinking at first that foolish, ignorant people give themselves over to negligence, but, and then here I just took it as plural, just as wise people, and we would take this verb, give themselves over to vigilance, carefulness. The only problem then is this doesn't quite, it doesn't really sit very well, just as we might say, just as one guards a great treasure, an excellent treasure. I don't think it's impossible to understand it that way, and I would be interested to hear what other people better versed in Pali or less versed in Pali, but who just maybe understand this in a different way or think that might be silly. But at least it seems plausible that it could be read that way. But just for me to be honest, it seems like taking this separately and using this verb here and not understanding this verb. There are times when you have to understand a verb. And actually, this is one here. You really have to understand this verb 2 times, really. So anyway, that is where I'll leave this one. And I hope that that wasn't too confusing.